Welcome back to the Game of Money. I'm Oren Klaff, and I'm very excited here to be today with Tito Ortiz. Tito, how many people mistake you for one of the greatest or not greatest MMA fighters ever? In the way you look right now, your current figuration.
I get Dak Prescott a lot more than that.
Oh, Zach Prescott. Oh,
yeah, from the Cowboys.
Here's what I think. I think you remember people saying, "Are you Zach Prescott?" A lot more than you remember people saying, "Are you Tito Ortiz?" But you are King Keto.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Brandon Carter is my government name, but on Instagram it's King Keto, and people call me that now.
The way you say government, were you in the military? I didn't get enough of your background.
Oh, no, I was not in the military. I'm just a guy, but that's just what my parents named me.
Great. As I say lots of times, we're going to get into it, but I go flying with my son, and we listen to a lot of Tom Clancy. So I'll go to my son. 019, we are weapons free. Prepare for a strike left. Go, weapons landing 77 heavy. We are bingo fuel. And he'll go, "Are you in the military?" I go, "No, I'm not." You don't look like someone that would be in the military. And I go, "Not only do I not look like it, I'm not." He's like, "I think you are, but you look like you would be in the military."
I'll take it as a compliment. Thank you.
And we just bought a Hummer H1. So come on out here and drive it. And King, I'm not even talking to you. That's just everybody listening. If you want to drive a Hummer H1, come out here. If you're watching this, we're going to put King down on the pavement. We're just going to drive over him and see what happens, which is probably nothing. All right, listen. This is called the Game of Money. We talk about investment banking and deal making all the time.
Yeah.
But the game of money can be played at every level of business, and you're hard in the paint in the game as hard as you can. So for people who are more familiar with me than they are you, which I understand, you're like, "Hey, that's not going to happen, Warren." But
no.
Pretend there's one person out there who doesn't know enough about you. Bring people up to speed on your business and what you're about.
My main business is a business called High Ticket Trainer. I teach people how to start their online fitness business, mostly personal trainers who want to transition from going from in-person training to doing online training. But we also work with people who just fitness enthusiasts who want to make a living in the fitness industry, and we help them do that online.
Great. I want to make a living somehow too. But listen, so you read Pitch Anything a while.
Yeah.
And I want
long time ago.
Nice. Great. And so I'd like to get the initial, when you opened it up and you started reading, what was your initial reaction to what was going on in there?
I had been doing sales my whole life. My father was in sales, so I learned a lot from him. And my first job was a personal trainer. And a lot of times as a personal trainer, you're a salesperson. You got to do the sales for the gym, for the gymnasium. And I read Pitch Anything when I was really getting my business together and trying to build sales teams and trying to take it to another level. And you broke it down in a way that I hadn't heard before.
Give me a reaction. Like you started reading it and you're going, "Hey, this is the same drivel that I always read, written by another mope trying to sell a couple books to get some consulting business in the miserable business of sales."
That's not what I felt.
What did it make you feel?
What it made me feel, okay, so my dad, we grew up really poor on the south side of Chicago. I'm going to get to the book. This is all going to make sense. We grew up like super
Wait, there's poor people on the south side of Chicago?
Yeah, and we were one of them. And I got sent away to military school for high school because I got in a little bit of trouble, a lot of trouble. And by the time I was out of military school, we went from being poor to my dad was making $3 million a year. And this was in the year 2000. And just for inflation, that's around $8 million in today's money.
Yeah.
And $8 million a year from like poverty on the south side. And he did all the sales for his business. And I would be with him a lot of the times.
Wait, was it an import-export business?
No, it wasn't. It was an insurance.
Revenue. Hey, on the south side of Chicago, listen, you got to understand how this story reads.
Yeah, I get it.
Of Chicago, I was selling shoes. Right?
Nah.
I went to $3 million in revenue next year with no expense.
It wasn't in 1 year. It was in 17 years.
I'm just teasing you.
Yeah, no. But it was in 7
people's dads, but yeah.
And now he lost it all before I graduated from college. So I didn't experience any of the wealth because I was going to military school and I was going to college. But I knew he did it. And I used to be with him. We were poor. So like my mom worked on the weekends and my dad did too. So I would be in my dad's office while he's on sales calls or doing sales, playing with G.I. Joes. And he had a different way of selling. And it wasn't what I had always heard. This like, always be closing hard sales. He took more of your approach. And this was the first time I heard what my dad would tell me. A lot of things my dad told me in written form.
Yeah.
Have the price frame. At the same time, one of my mentors, he owns a huge dating company. It was called Real Social Dynamics. And at their peak, they were doing 8 figures a year.
So their house was right next to my house on Sunset Boulevard.
I
would work out with those guys at the gym and be like, oh, can we come up? They would walk over to my house, or I would walk over to their house. So they were across from Equinox on Sunset Boulevard, where I lived for, I don't know, 12 years.
Oh, so Owen's like a big brother to me.
Oh.
Yeah, he's almost like a big brother to me. And when I read this book, I was like, oh, they have to know each other in some way. They have to, these ideas. So it was like a lot of ideas that converged.
With the guys in Owens, what I would call entourage, some days after the gym, we'd go on long walks up Sunset Boulevard, up Runyon Canyon, and talk about frame control. Yeah. Their interest was in social dynamics. We don't have to get into it. My interest was business, and the application was very difficult. You couldn't go straight across from social dynamics. You can't just walk in a boardroom and go, hey, I only do business with people who will buy me a drink, or
right.
really fun to hang out with. What have you done fun lately? And be like, I'm sorry, who are you? Yeah. And this is the same problem I have with guys. So we work really hard to figure out like what translates and what doesn't from social dynamics to business dynamics. Yeah. But I think that's interesting that you recognize the similarity.
I recognized it instantly. And it was a lot of the stuff was similar to the things my father's told me. And I read the book. It was a time when I was learning how to sell from stage. So my dad focused on like more one-to-one sales. Maybe there's 2-3 people in the room, but it was more like a one-on-one sales thing. And that was my background. And I had to learn how to sell to many. And that's where your book really taught me how to, honestly, man, it taught me how to do it. Like selling from stage, selling from webinars.
I want to set the stage for people here quickly. Let's just run through a bad sale, right? So
Yeah.
you want to be the customer, or you want to be the salesperson?
I'm not gonna. You're the expert.
Bad. Who can do it worse? What I'm asking.
Oh, who can do the work? Who can be the? All right. You be the salesperson.
Okay, I'll be the salesperson. And so, what am I selling? Gym membership?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, King, I walk through. I've got a lot of equipment. What do you think? What do you think of the gym here? We'd be really excited to have you as a member.
Yeah, it seems like it's cool. I'm gonna look around at a few other gyms before I make a decision. I don't like to make decisions on the spot.
Yeah, no, I understand it. Like sometimes it's hard, it's scary to make a decision about your future, but if the price was right and if it really fit your budget and you could start working right away and start getting that, like we talked about, getting the fat off. I don't want to be rude to you, but you are looking like there's some LBs that can be taken off. I'm building that muscle, and I know, think about the way people are going to look at you with your new body and new outlook at life, and we can get you started in that right away. If I can make the price low enough, is this something you think you could jump into today?
It really depends on how low you can make it. And I haven't even seen some of the other gyms. How low can you make it?
Yeah, so let me just go talk to my manager for a minute.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey, King, my manager said we never do this. We've never done it at this level before, but for only $19 a month for your first 3 months, we can get you in shape and get you become the person you need to be. When I get you over here, we'll get your signature. Don't forget, use this good pen. This is something that's going to change the way you look at life. And I don't want you to use like a 50-cent pen on that. Use this pen to sign this agreement to change the rest of your life.
Oren, listen, I just want to thank you for that offer. I'm going to check out some of these other gyms real quick. And then I told my wife I was going to make a decision.
Here's some great news, right? I checked all of those gyms out already for you, right? And I've rated them. And I'm just telling you, this one's a 10 out of 10. I haven't seen another one that rates higher than 4. And also, I think your wife is going to want to see you be a leader in your home and not come ask her what gym you have permission. Like, she's going to look down on you after that. So listen, let's get this done. It's
not like a permission thing. It's just more of a respect, man. You know how it is when you're married. It's just respect, man.
I just feel your wife's going to look at you and say, you're afraid to spend $60 on yourself. I know you wear the pants in the family, but you don't want to be told which ones to wear.
No, it's a decision. It's a decision, man. Like it's a family decision. We're a unit. My money is her money. I couldn't say that without laughing. I
couldn't convert. All right, so I think that's really like the back and forth the typical sales go through is high pressure.
High pressure.
High pressure. What do you have to do? How will people look at you if you can't make this decision? What else do gyms do when high pressure? They lower the price.
they'll lower the price. It's a race to the bottom. They rely on deals and sales, and a lot of times they'll give free. If they're trying to sell personal training, they'll do free lessons, free trainings, so you can get an idea, that kind of stuff.
I didn't do bad as badly as it can be done. All right, now let's do it correctly. All right.
All right.
You get me into a gym membership correctly. Hold on.
You want me to do it? Oh.
You get me into a gym. Hold on, let me get mine.
All right. Listen, man. All right. So I'm the salesperson.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm on the spot. I feel like you gotta understand. I feel like I'm talking to the master.
I like what you guys have set up here, but I got to go check out this Equinox before I can make any like real commitment.
Yeah. No. And listen, that makes a lot of sense, man. What are you hoping to, when you're looking to making a commitment? What are the things you're considering exactly?
I want to be somewhere where I feel comfortable and motivated.
Comfortable and motivated?
Yeah.
What exactly do you mean by that? Do you struggle with motivation now? Is that a big thing?
I want to feel like, I think those go together. Like when I come in the gym, I want to feel like it's uplifting and I'm not like the weakest person in the whole gym and it's just a bunch of muscle heads and I feel bad about myself. I want to feel good about myself.
Is that experience you've had a lot in the past?
I have. I worked out at Gold's a couple times, Pacific Beach, in Venice Beach, and I'm like one of the small guys. And I felt like people were looking down at me, even though I was working.
Really?
Yeah, I have a good work ethic, and I work hard, and I feel like it's just all about how you look, not what you're doing.
So it sounds like you live in a place where you can just be more comfortable and accomplish your goals without people judging you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
What else are you looking for in the gym?
Let's see. I think somewhere that somewhere I can stretch. Like I like to where I can stretch comfortably. A lot of just equipment everywhere, and you're like stretching in between the squat rack and the deadlift rack, and there's just like nowhere to stretch.
That congestion is a big issue.
Yeah,
for
congestion. Yeah, you put it.
I got
That's the
you,
word I
man.
was looking for. Just like a lot of people, and then also like I get off work like everybody else at 5 o'clock, and then I go over to the gym, and it's no parking, it's jammed up, hard to get equipment, and then I feel like people are judging me, and all those things make my life. I want to feel good when I go home.
Right. So when you were having that experience at Goals or maybe some of these other gyms, that kind of prevented you from actually taking advantage of your membership?
It did. It did.
Yeah. And then as a result of that, it sounds like you quit going and didn't accomplish your goals.
Fool, look at me. Look at me.
Listen, man, listen, man. I can tell you're on your way and you seem like you're really dedicated, man. And that's exciting.
Yeah, I am dedicated. I am dedicated, but sometimes I just miss.
You just miss. Yeah. I think that's normal when you have a gym that doesn't excite you. What excites you the most about this gym so far? I know you guys see all these other gyms. I'm not trying to put any pressure on you. Just
I like the
out of
conversation I
curiosity.
have with you. You let me get a workout. I feel pumped up, and I like. It just seems like it has a good vibe.
Okay, all right. That's good to hear. So, how do you feel like that may work for you? Because this might not be the right gym for you. I'm gonna be honest with you. But how do you feel like the vibe here would affect your motivation and your drive?
Yeah. Now that you say it, I think like just being around people who I can see how dedicated they are and like role models. Yeah, that's how I think.
Yeah. Okay. And did you feel when we were working out and training? Did you feel a lot of like judgment or like people like laughing at you or anything that maybe I missed it? I didn't see it. But
Yeah, I
was that your
didn't.
experience?
I didn't. I felt comfortable.
All right. I don't know. You also the congestion. This is about how busy it is here, like round the clock. It may get maybe 5-10% more people will be here around 5. Would that be too much for you?
No, I think it was a reasonable amount. Like the machines were open.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
sure the machines were open.
All right. Listen, and we've worked on the space. We're doing some expansion in the gym, but as for right now, you think you can get a good stretch in between these machines?
Yeah, I think at 5'8.5".
Yeah.
I get a stretch between the water machine and the garbage bin.
All right. It's funny you mentioned that, man, because we have a lot of our clients, one of the reasons they choose this, and one of the reasons our gym is not the cheapest is because we want to keep less congestion, because we get a lot of guys like you, successful guys like you, who they want a lot of space, man, and they don't want to be judged as much. So that totally makes a lot of sense. If you had it sounds like this is the gym you're looking for. Do you think you'd be able to be more consistent at a place like this, or you think you'd still fall off? It'd be the same as Goals?
Let me see. Yeah, I could be consistent here. If people like you were around and the people that I'm seeing, I could be consistent here. Like I could do it. I could do it.
What would be the best part about that, in your opinion?
If I was consistent, honestly, I'm just talking to you honestly here, King. If I was consistent, it would change my life. I'm not out of shape, but sometimes when I look in the mirror, I'm like, I don't see the right man looking back at me. I'm like, that I know I want to see a different person looking back at me.
Yeah, yeah. How long have you been feeling like that?
A year.
A year?
Yeah.
It's been a pretty rough year for you?
I got an injury. I was in CrossFit and I got an injury, and that put me off. And then finally got that injury fixed. But it took me out long enough of the game where I was like, oh man, I used to be a contender, and then I can't. I can't do those runs. I can't do those same. And I know it's just gonna be a bunch of work, and it's a big mountain.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
so it really sounds, man, you're trying to get back to where you were, be the man you used to be. And I understand that because we've all had setbacks. How you think that affect you, the other parts of your life? If you can really be who like you said, the man you used to be. What kind of effect did that have on other aspects of your life besides your health?
So I feel like I take my wife out. I have a very beautiful wife, I think, and I just felt better about myself and just more confident. Yeah, I work all the time, do a lot of work. Just felt more confident. Went out. She looked up to me more. Just
Wow.
It's just confidence.
Confidence. All right. Sounds like it's time to get that back.
It's time to get back. I want to be the person I was plus.
Yeah, well, listen, man, that's a great goal to have, especially for you. You know, it's more than fitness. You know, it's more than just your body. It's also your life and your relationships with other people and how you present yourself. It's bigger than just the way you look. You sound like you have the right attitude. Listen, if you feel like this is the right place for you to get to those goals, we'd love to have you. But again, remember, I remember you said that it was super important that it's not too congested, right? We have a for that reason. We have a limit on how many new members we accept all the time, right? So you're welcome to take as long as you want. I can't guarantee 100% that we'll still have room for you later, but you got to make the decision that's best for you.
Yeah, I think I'm excited. If it's in my budget, I'd be excited about it.
Yeah. All right. It sounds good, man. Let's work it. Let's see who we can.
All right.
How'd I do, man? How'd I do? I tried to throw. I threw it a little. Yeah. You're the master, bro.
Yeah, I was gonna cry. I was gonna cry. I think the biggest thing is in your process. I felt like I was telling the truth about myself to someone.
Yeah.
You opened up a space for me to really tell you what I'd be afraid to tell other people.
Thank you, mate. To give the viewers some context, we're on course to do 8 million this year. We did 6 million last year. And I've personally done millions of dollars in sales, just myself, me on the phone. One of the things I learned from you was you got to make the sale emotional.
Yeah.
You got to really get in your emotion. And that's why I asked stuff like, what would that mean for you? How's that going to affect you? In my process, I started with what are you looking for and how that's going to affect you. And then I went into what it would mean if you actually accomplish these goals, what your problems are. So we try to make it super emotional.
Yeah, it's really good.
Oh, thank you, man.
Yeah, it's good. I think and also you have a really good demeanor. What are you drinking?
This is Celsius, man. I'm a caffeine addict. I take about 1,000 milligrams of caffeine a day. That's not advice for anyone listening. I've worked my tolerance up since I was a child.
Yeah, no, I understand. So let's go through the numbers here. So you read Pitch Anything, and for the first time, so you felt like it matched up with what your dad was doing.
He used to tell me all the time, con artists try to convince you to buy something. A skillful salesperson will ask you questions that find out what your problems are, and then, if applicable, will show you how those things will solve your problems, and then it will just make sense, right? Just asking questions. My dad was like a legit street dude. He learned all this trial and error. He was a former gang member, arrested all the time, didn't graduate from high school. So he learned this stuff, just trial and error. But you articulated when you talked about the croc brain and the neocortex and the different parts of the brain, I was like, oh shit, it makes sense. It's like you articulated a lot of stuff my dad taught me, but you articulated in a way that made more sense.
Is he still around?
Now, unfortunately, my father committed suicide when I was like 24. Remember I told you he lost everything?
Yeah.
He lost everything, and he had a lot of difficulties after that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It sounds like you have some very good memories. And have you got a family now?
Yeah, I have a son. I have a 6-year-old son. Yeah,
and then let me tell you something. Right? Do you have a pen? Write this down.
Yeah.
6-year-old is amazing.
Oh.
No, because at 7, here's what's gonna happen. At
What
7.
happens?
He'll start to have friends, and the rest. Right now, it's me and Dad against the world.
Yeah.
Right? 7 and 8, they're gonna need some access to the computer for school. Other kids are gonna have the phone. They're going to start to have some outside influences that's not just dad. Right now, it's me and dad against the world. What's your son's name?
But I don't like to say it on the internet.
Okay.
Yeah. I have a lot of crazy people on the internet. So I just keep it.
I don't mind telling you my son's name.
Okay.
Get the hell over here and put that down. Right?
How old is he?
He's 10. He's a hockey player. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
He's a hockey player. And so he's an athlete. And we go through this all the time because now he's in locker rooms and there's outside influence. All kinds of bullshittery going around in 10-year-old hockey rooms. The one thing I can tell you is a 10-year-old will act around you like he's still 6. What? I don't understand. When you see him talking to his friends, right? They're like, oh, yeah, I can't believe Lamar went second in the draft. I don't think the Kings are going to be solid this year. They follow hockey. He knows who's taken 15th in the draft, what school they came from. He knows the names of all the players, what players are dirty players in his league, a league up. Like, he knows stuff he has no exposure to that I believe, and they're super, super clued up. But to dad, he'd be like, what? Oh, tie my shoes? How do you do that, Dad? Or like, oh, what's the difference between AM and FM radio? Right? And then they were like, back into the website, and I got the stream, 10 years old, and I got the stream to the to the playoff game that wasn't in our local market. Right? What's FM radio, Dad? So right now, 6, there's like that honesty and love going on, and just cherish that. It's amazing. I write my son a note every morning.
Really?
Capture what happened the day before. Sometimes it takes me 15 minutes, sometimes it takes me an hour, and I just always try and, because he's now, is your son playing sports or what's he doing?
No, he probably will. They didn't have a lot of programs at his old school, so he's going into a new school for 2nd grade, and he'll have some
2nd grade. Yeah. Hopefully he'll follow in your athletic footsteps, because I think there's so many life lessons from athletics.
So, for sure.
So it went down that, and just one son.
Yeah, just one son. Right?
Okay, yeah, me too. You want to trade? I want to.
Nah, man, you just sold me on 6-year-olds, man. So I'm material. He'll be 7 in August. So I guess
nice house. Yeah, 7. My son was a hockey player. He will scrape the inside off your house. It just pucks. We have windows. We have broken windows that we don't even fix anymore.
Oh, wow.
I built a hockey rink in our backyard, and
that's awesome.
But it's right next to the house, right? 1 out of 50 hockey pucks through the window, or maybe 1 out of 500. So I don't even fix the windows anymore.
That makes a lot of sense.
All right. For me, I'm finding in this environment that we're in today, is in the business that I'm in, which is raising money and selling, is really, I think people are holding on to their money much more tightly. Capital is expensive, hard to grow your business. The free money machine stopped. Are you experiencing that in your business?
That ours is more, our clientele is not as high net worth as you, right? So it's what we notice is it seems like maybe inflation may be hitting them a little harder. It started more so this year, because last year we had a record year and everybody was telling me that these same things. But this year is when it seemed like it's finally got to my market.
Yeah.
Where it's affecting them in a real way. And we're helping them. But they experience too, right? Because they're trainers. They have to sell people on training. So I see it from them as well. So we're helping them navigate through that as well. And we have a few students who did $1 million just as online trainers last year, which is cool.
So when people say, hey, I did $1 million, but we got to think about, hey, what's the gross margin? What's the net margin? What's left over? I'm assuming in that business, the margin is really high because your cost base is low.
It's a service-based business, and it's usually up until you get about 50 clients, you can handle it all yourself. But at past 50 clients, like online clients, at that point, then you have to start hiring staff, and your margins get a little lower. Yeah.
All right, let's do a breakdown here. So I was in CrossFit, but CrossFit isn't good enough for me. I had to be in SEAL Fit because we're in San Diego, so we have Navy SEALs here.
Okay.
Right? So some crazy Navy SEALs, Mark Devine, combined CrossFit and Navy SEAL bullshit. So now you got CrossFit, but now instead of a barbell, you're lifting like a Navy SEAL up over your head, or you got buddy carry, or the workouts are 2.5 hours long, right? Or you're running on the beach, or they're sticking you underwater, trying to drown you. It's not called drown proofing, by the way. It's just called drowning. And it's crazy. And at 46, I was just best of my life inside of CrossFit. And then the guys were like, hey, you are never taking a break. Like, you're here every day. I'm like, yeah, stronger, right? The last easy day was yesterday. Hoorah! I'm like, right? I'm like, shut up, dude. You were never, you don't know what you're saying. So, but I just kept working out. And then what they do is they run these classes for the SEALs. where they were actually training SEALs, but they would mix in with the CrossFit. So you're going hard with 23, 24-year-olds that are getting ready for buds. And just as 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, then they're like 23. And then next year, they're 23 again because there's a new batch.
Yeah.
51. There's another batch that's 23. And eventually, I got super injured. Just pulled up. It's called the annular tear. I know it sounds like anus, but it's totally different area of the body. It's in your back. It's
like the lower
it's
back,
not a
right?
disc rupture. Yeah, it's a lower back. It's not a disc rupture, but it's a pretty severe injury. And so I was off of that, and it took me. So I found a guy who does muscle activation technique. Are you familiar with this?
I'm familiar with it. Now I'm not an expert by any means.
So muscle activation technique says that when you get an injury, what your body does. So the guy came out of the NFL. Look it up. You can look it up. It's really great. When your body gets an injury, it says, okay, or it doesn't now feel safe in that range of motion. Right? So if your hand's out here, you don't constantly, the body's going to say, hey, I'm going to tighten up the QL so I can't get in that range of motion. That's why people are like moving really awkward because their body's shutting down, right? And so you have layers of muscles shutting down, right? And then they repair, but they don't release again. So they have to release those muscles, get them back into use.
Got it.
All right, so they activate the muscle, put some stress on it, get it back into use. And the basic thesis is when you've got an injury, then your body says, okay, I don't want to allow my leg or my arm into this wide range of motion because I'm weak there. And when I load and I'm weak, then I cause systemic injury. So the counter muscle
Got it.
to that range of motion.
It compensates.
I'm going to compensate and pull it in so I can't get into a weak range of motion. So now every range of motion I'm strong, but I'm like gnarled.
Right.
Okay. And so what they do is they so if you got a shoulder injury, instead of working the shoulder, they go, what does that tie back to? They release that thing and boom, and then your shoulder releases. So that's muscle activation technique. But this is going somewhere for your business. So the guy saved me. Like he opened up all these muscles have been injured for 20 years. Not just but soccer and football and all kinds of flag football and real football and dumb motorcycling and dumb stuff. And so he opened it up and it took a year and a half. So he saved my life. Like just really no one else other than people want to operate. Nobody else, physical therapy, could get this going. He saved my life. But he's got a business that he just sees clients. Like he's amazing. This guy saves lives. They give him people from the military that fell out of a helicopter and he brings them back online. He's an ex-corpsman, really good guy, and he just drives from place to place or has people over in a home. And he's $150 an hour when he's happy. How can that guy get a real business?
I don't know if that's scalable, to be honest with you. It's like not every business is scalable. I don't have to tell you. It won't be scalable like that because he's doing something but he'd have to do something which is not his gift. So what we focus on is like people who...
Hey, listen, Oren. That guy, you call him up right now. Give me his phone. You need to tell him that he needs to become a lawyer. All right?
Yeah. This guy who's saving lives, he needs to stop. No, but I mean, it's the honest truth because the way we do it, we teach online training is we teach our students how to create custom workout plans and custom meal plans for their people they're training, but they do it on their own.
Yeah.
And a lot of trainers will object to that because they'll be like, oh, what about the form? I'm like, listen, man, you're training regular guys, regular girls. Diet's the most important part. What we do, all you have to do, we show them how to do it, is to monitor their calorie intake and their macros. I've helped people lose fat without any exercise, like people who were too fat, right? We just put them on a diet. I track their diet, their macros and their calories, put them in a caloric deficit, and they would lose fat quick because they were so big that I couldn't tell them to run a mile. It messed their ankles up. Diet's the most important part. And not in your guys' case, but in most cases, online training can be more effective for the client than in-person training because in-person training, this is coming from a guy who spent years working in the gyms all around America. In-person training puts all of the emphasis on the training, right? But diet is the most important thing. You can't out-train a bad diet. When it comes to getting in shape, right? You were working on correcting injuries. That's different.
Yeah.
Like it's actually a different use case.
But but truthfully, there's one thing you can do instead of diet.
What's that?
Russian Diana ball.
Oh yeah. But you'd be surprised, man. I've been in the fitness industry for decades. 25 years I've been in this. And I've seen people take all sorts of drugs and still look like trash.
Yeah.
Like you still gotta work. It will speed things up. I'm not saying it doesn't work. But these people still look like trash without the diet.
All right. So how many calories a day are you eating, by the way?
Me, I eat 3,000 calories a day as of now. Like right now, that's what I'm on. Yeah.
And you go up and down. So the guy who works with me, he's actually a bodybuilder, right? So he just went
Okay.
310 pounds. He was 226 yesterday.
Wow.
You probably 3-4 weeks went from 310 to 226. It's amazing.
Yeah.
You cycle up and down like that.
No, I don't do that because one, I want to look presentable year round.
Yeah.
And I'm just never been a fan of that. I understand why bodybuilders do it because they want to win the show, but I'm thinking just like a little more long term. The problem with it is the way on the biological level, the way fat cells work is they get bigger and bigger, then they divide and they have more fat cells. But when you lose weight, you don't like have less fat cells. They just shrink. So sometimes this is why a lot of times when people gain weight, it's easier for them to put on weight again every time after when they gain fat. So if you've never been fat, it's easier to never be fat. And if you've been fat, it will be easier to be fat because the only way to actually lose the fat cells is like a liposuction surgery, right? But because when you lose fat, it's just shrink. Once they divide, you have new cells forever. So that's why I've never been a fan of that strategy for people who are not competitive bodybuilders, right?
Yeah.
You got to do what you got to do to be on stage.
So just do it systemically, so not go up and down.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I feel like I'm trying to do both things at the same time, like grow a little bit and cut, right?
Yeah.
And those are like putting the thermostat on hot and cold at the same time.
Yeah.
You're sort of against each other.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, let me put on 4 or 5 pounds.
Oh, you can do that, but you can't be as big as he. You talked about like a 75-pound swing. That's different. I definitely bulk and cut. I'll do that. But it's not, I'm just talking about those big swings. So I'll bulk to the point where I feel like I don't see my abs as much as I'd like. Or my face gets big. I start to look like an emoji. And because people have different amounts of fat cells in different regions, right? And for whatever reason, my face gets fat and I look like a straight cartoon emoji. As soon as that happens, I'm like, all right, it's time to go on the cut.
Yeah. So Mike was in here treating me the other morning. We call him Big Mike, but now he's Medium Mike. That he lost 100 pounds getting ready for a contest.
Nice.
He's no carbs for 2 days. I think. Yeah. So what do they get on their low carb day? So he's drinking like 8 egg whites, protein powder, and like an olive for breakfast. And then for lunch, he gets way off of that and drinks like another 8 egg whites, another scoop of protein powder, like and then some water. And so he's on super low carbs. I think he probably gets half a banana or something like that. So he's got 2 days of that. He comes in the morning. I have a client that came in. I was getting treated. And we're talking a little bit about his diet. And the client goes, hey, man, I got a scone here if you want one. Yeah. And Mike turns to him and he's like, do not fucking do that. You're talking to a guy who's still 235 pounds, Navy corpsman, close cut hair, and scared the crap out of the client. But yeah, when you're low carb, why do you get so grumpy on those low carbs?
Okay, so here's the thing. To put it in context, I've been doing the ketogenic diet for 8 years myself, right? So my carbs stay under 50 grams of net carbs per day. So my diet is mostly meat and green vegetables, right?
Yeah.
But the reason why most people, when they initially do free low carbs or for a certain amount of time, is usually twofold. One, it's carbohydrates are calorically dense, right? So it's also, you're getting way less carbohydrate. You're getting way less calories. So you're fucking hungry. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to curse. You're hungry. People are hungry. It's not just the carbs. It's also like you're hungry. And especially, he's probably tracking his calories because he's a pro bodybuilder. But the average person just goes off carbs. And what happens is, typically on the Western diet, your body will consume carbohydrates. You convert those carbohydrates into glucose, and the glucose is the fuel your body runs off of. In the absence of glucose, your liver will start to produce a different fuel source called ketones, and that's what the ketogenic diet comes from. But it's a transitional phase, right? So if you go on low carbs, you're in this window where your body hasn't learned to make ketones yet. And you don't have you don't have glucose coming in. And a lot of that grumpiness can also be classified as an inability to control like your willpower. Like when he might not have flipped out at that person, he might have restrained himself if he had more willpower. There's another great book called Willpower. They talk about how glucose or the lack thereof can affect people's discipline and make them more hungry.
Yeah, no, yes. I hear you. Hey, motherfucker, get me a beer. I don't care if it's, sorry, what were you saying? No, I hear that as well. All right, one thing that is, I think, the elephant in the room. Like, you are selling a product that you look like. But put your head in the mind of somebody like who sells accounting services or digital services or websites. Like, how do you look like a web? But I find it's really helpful to take somebody in one situation,
Yeah.
right,
Okay.
and learn from them of how they would think about doing another sales situation if they're. So if you were selling websites, a very close friend, he sells HIPAA compliant websites to hospitals. So these are like
Okay. Yeah.
$600,000, $700,000 websites because they have to be compliant and they're for a whole hospital system. But he can't look like a
Yeah.
website. But if we dropped you into that job tomorrow, what would your instincts be from having, the experience that you've been through in looking like your job?
Yeah, so that's interesting. I'm glad you bring it up. Well, one of the things I would do is if the business had a lot of like testimonials, then I would leverage those. If they didn't, then I'd go super hard to get some. Even if we had to do some stuff for people for free for testimonials, because the way I like to sell is I just like to ask people what their problems are, and more importantly, how those problems are affecting them, so we can get like an emotional response.
Yeah.
And then be able to tell stories about other clients that we have who've had the same problem, and we've helped them with that, and they have a different effect and a different emotional response.
Yeah.
I came up with a weird structure for sales that I applied to everything, because I've trained other people's sales teams and other businesses, and it's based off pitch anything. I'm no bullshit. So when I ask them what their problems are and ask questions, I see what the thing is. I call it thing, effect, emotion. Right. This is my framework. Right.
Thing,
What affect, emotion. So
Yeah.
what's the thing that thing would be the problem that they need help with, the effect that's having on the effect of that problem, and then what emotion that problem is causing.
Yeah.
So we make sure we get those things, and then it's just like, hey man, remember you had this thing and it was causing and this and that made you feel like shit. Here's how we help our clients with problems like yours. So we had this other guy, and we tell them how same thing, but we have the opposite effect now with the opposite emotion with this new thing is what I meant to say. I hope I articulated that. And because I think about it the way you broke it down and pitched anything, how you got to get into the croc brain, because it's not going to be a logic decision. It's going to be an emotional decision. And the thing affect emotion, that's the framework that I built to train my salespeople to make sure they get into the croc brain, like you said. Does that make sense? I hope that's cool, because you're the expert.
Use status. So I put a post on Instagram where I said, hey, look, we had a Range Rover, right? But we put hockey players in it. And we put 1 million miles on it. And so when we went to replace it, and there's a lot of criticism on just saying, hey, we have a Range Rover. But hey, I don't know if you know how our economy works, but 5% of the economy is consumer automotive transportation, right? And the Range Rover it's not a piece of jewelry. Like, it's just a better car. It goes more miles. You can go over more stuff with it. It's treated as a luxury item. It's a great car, right?
Yeah.
If you run into something, it's more robust. It's just built better, and it's unique, and so it has all this. But anyway, it's not great for hauling around hockey players because they scrape all that leather off the inside. So we replaced it with a 4Runner, and then now we're parking the 4Runner in the driveway. You're gonna feel a Toyota 4Runner.
Yeah.
In our culture, in our society, this isn't ancient Rome. It's not 1400 England. It's not 1066 BC. It's not the time. Like, in our culture, you're going to feel when your neighborhood, hey, you used to have a Range Rover, right? And now you have a 4Runner. People are going to go, what's going on?
I guess Flip the Script didn't do as well, is what they think.
Right. and then on Instagram, people lit me up. Hey, I can't believe you live like that. Or who thinks like that? I don't know. Like, somebody lives in America. I don't know.
Humans?
We have a $13 trillion consumer economy that is based on status hierarchy. So status was a real thing. How do you use status or think about status hierarchies when you're doing sales interactions?
We do a 2-call close, right? Just in my experience, 2-call closings outperform 1-call close, typically, right? And so our target market is primarily men, right? That's our customer base. On the first call, they're going to speak to a pretty girl, right? On Zoom, right? And her script is asking them questions. It's framed the way they're proving themselves to him. They're validating themselves to her, and they'll be eager to because she's relatively attractive.
But since there are Girls in your business, how did I get stuck doing a podcast with the bald, half-naked guy?
Because you asked me, man. So that's one part. So now they're proving all. Oh man, are you a hard worker? So yeah, I work hard. I work. They're super excited. So now, and whoever is validating themselves, in my opinion, has lost the prize frame. If you're validating yourself,
Yeah.
and so they're in that position, and and the call is framed in the beginning is if we feel like you're a good fit, we'll put you on a call with our enrollment specialist who is going to do the close.
Yeah.
So it's framed up like that. So they have to ascend, they have to make it to our closers, and they have to prove themselves to the girl. Then they make it to our closer, and then we do a few things. I make it all my closers wear collared shirts. They all have to have good microphones when they're on Zoom and good cameras.
What do you call the collar on that shirt you have on? Is that a?
Oh, this is man. I was working out. I just came right. I came right from the gym. But if I was on a sales call, I'd have a collared shirt and a more expensive watch. Even the background is curated to make it look like, to subtly say, "Hey, I'm better than you. And we're all better than you. You should be more. If you were more like us." And some people may hear that. The dummies will hear that and think that we're manipulating people, and sure, but we also help people make a lot. We have 100% money back guarantee.
I think the way I think about it, hey buddy, come over here and say hi to King. All right. We'll meet a real athlete.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm about to lower your status.
All right. Hey, what's up? What's up, man? I heard a lot about you, man. I heard you're a phenomenal hockey player. That's fantastic. Yeah, your dad is the man. I read all his books. Your dad is one of my idols, man. I look up to him, man. So it's super awesome to meet you both.
He's also my idol, but sometimes I still think he's crazy.
I get it.
Public service. Thank you.
No, you probably. What did you call that in the book? A status transfer. When the
Yeah.
waiter gave you status.
Yeah, exactly. I think there is never anything wrong with showing people you care enough to dress nicely,
Yeah.
invest in a nice timepiece that makes you that you like. I don't know what percent of the GDP is jewelry, but it is not like this. Hey, I'm putting a bone through my nose from Africa, or I'm doing some weird cultural thing they do in Switzerland, or doing something from India that I've appropriated. This is what our culture is. We like to dress nicely. We like to be in a nice office environment. We like to have quiet. We've got to talk to Raheem. We invest in good gear, and we have a nice environment, and that's how our culture works. And so there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, in order to signal to you, it's hard for you to see who I am. So if you go to a car dealership, again, 5-6% of the economy is on them. You go to a car dealership, and so they don't have the cars on the lot. They have the best cars inside. It looks clean. It is clean. They have coffee and water. They're showing their best face, right? Are there bad car dealerships? Of course, right? But are there bad salespeople who dress nicely and have a nice watch and have a good haircut? But at least it shows people like, hey, for this call, I've made some effort, right?
Yeah.
And I think that elevates your status. And for me, I use it a lot. I don't really mean to people, but I get on calls. So I was hosting a roundtable guy, and there was like 5 or 6 people holding up on the call. It's supposed to be executives. Guys wearing a Nike shirt. I'm like, hey, Rajesh, or whatever your name is, you went and got your best Nike sweatshirt for this call? Like,
Oh, I hear what you're saying. Yeah.
So there's something about just being appropriately appointed for. Sometimes you don't call people the old computer or iPhone 6.
Yeah. Or they're from their phone. They're on Zoom from their phone. We don't allow them to do it from our phone. From their phones. We don't allow them to take calls where someone's driving. We'll reschedule the call, and listen, you got to show up.
So correct. If somebody comes to a call, right, and they want to be an investor in my company, and that could be a $250,000 call for us. Like this is, and they're in the car. We're like, hey, there's some confusion here. Like we don't do car calls.
Yeah. I'm glad I heard you say that, because
we do not.
I'm the only.
Because it's a status imbalance.
Yeah.
The calls that I take from my car are very different from the ones I take from my office. I'm like, hey, I'll blow off some time. I'm looking to drive. Oh, you're going to entertain me? Yeah, I forgot to download a good Audible book. I finished my last one. You entertain me for 15 minutes while I'm driving home.
Yeah.
You need to be expending real time as I am if we're going to be talking about helping you out. And I think the other thing I like to convey to people is I will not work harder on your life than you will. And so in Pitch Anything, I think I wrote, and this is one of the tenets, is people only value that which they pay for. Sometimes you want people to value a meeting, and they're not paying for the meeting. It's not like, hey, pay us $100 and we'll give you some initial, because they're coming to the meeting. But how do you make them pay
Oh,
commitment or time or attention or other stuff for the call that they're on?
here's the thing. One thing I don't have my sales guys do cold calls. So what we do is to get on the call with the closer, they have to apply. Then they have to, so they apply, right? So that's already like the status, right? They apply, then they get on another call, then they get on one call where they have to validate, where it's structured to make them validate themselves. And then they finally get on another call. So they almost feel like they made it to that call. Like it's an accomplishment to get there, because that's how we frame it. That's how we set it up. And there's truth in it, because the girls do not let everybody through. There's definitely truth to it. Maybe we could do better at this, but in my mind, the way I set up this structure is, it's almost like it'd be too much cognitive dissonance for them to come on there and not be serious about it after they went through a mini gauntlet to get there, right? You can't just buy it. If they try to just buy into it, we got to make sure you're a good fit, and then we can actually help you. And that's not just something we say. Everybody don't make it to talk to one of my closers. I've been on social media selling products for 10 years, and the reason I don't have a bad reputation, it's not about the people making bad videos about me, because we want to make sure our clients succeed, and we don't let everyone through because of that. Even though we make some money, I think in the long run we make more money by having a high success rate, because we can use those testimonials and we don't get the bad press.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
And then everyone wants to know how you built your Instagram overnight so quickly.
I wish it was overnight. I've been on Instagram for, I don't know, probably close to a decade, back when it was only on iPhones.
Yeah.
So none of this had been overnight. Like I have a million Instagram followers and 1 million YouTube subscribers and 1 million Facebook followers. And that sounds impressive until you realize I've been doing this for 10 years. So yeah, if you do anything every day for 10 years, you should get some above average results. I don't think it's that impressive. It's more a testament to consistency and hard work over a long period of time than it is any real talent I have or any tricks that I know. I would, if I knew some tricks, I would tell you, but the only trick I know is to, like, if you want to accomplish something, do it every day.
Yeah.
Really hard for a decade, you should get some results.
Yeah. That's why I make sure to do a podcast at least once every 6 weeks. A couple hard questions for you. What career would you like your son to have when he grows up?
You know what, man? I think about this sometimes, and the career he has when he grows up might not have been invented yet, right? You think about it, because 20 years ago, there was no iPhone. So that means there's no Instagram, and Facebook was in its infancies, and there were no professional YouTubers, and AI didn't exist.
Pickleball.
Yeah, pickleball wasn't even around. So it'd be difficult for me to predict what the world is going to be like 20 years from now. I think I want to make sure he has all the skills he needs to succeed in any environment. I think that's the best I can do, because I don't think people have even thought of all the careers that are going to be around in 15, 20 years.
And great. So are you building a great American company or building something up to sell? You love what you're doing. You just want to keep doing it. Where are we taking all this?
This business is a business that I making enough money where I can live like super, super comfortably. I can pay my employees a good amount of money. I can pay them a lot, and we can handle it. And I don't know that this is like $100 million company that can be sold. I have an idea for one, but everyone has ideas. But I think I'd have to start something else to have a big exit with your guys. Right now, this is more of like a big lifestyle company.
Lifestyle. You can stand it. You could do this forever. You love doing it.
That's what I wanted to build. I had a mentor who told me, he said, Brandon, you need to make a decision. Do you want this to be a big company that you exit, or do you want to enjoy the whole ride? Yeah. So I structured my company like that, so I could do this indefinitely. We make $8 to $10 million a year indefinitely. And shit, I come from Southside Chicago. My first memory is getting robbed with my mom at 5 years old. To come from that to making the kind of money I'm making now is...
Love it. Many ways, you weren't dropped into the Yale system. You didn't have that advantage or that disadvantage, whatever you want to call it. But think of if you had been in another channel with all the intelligence, hard work, moxie, creativity, follow-throughness, observation, processing power, fast processing, verbal skills, charisma, and just regular old good looks that you had. If you're in some other channel, you would be successful in whatever you're doing, I don't think that your
Yeah.
circumstances brought you to awareness that you wanted to be successful. I think whatever channel we dumped you in, right, from the family that you are, you would have
Yeah.
made the absolute most of it. And so I don't feel that way about everybody, but I know a lot of people, a lot of business people. I can tell you with the tools that your family gave you and that you just genetically have, we could drop you naked in any city on earth and you'd be doing something here successful pretty quickly.
I appreciate that. Thank you, man. That means a lot coming from you, man, because you're somebody I definitely look up to. So thank you. The big luck I had, I think, was my parents, man. Honestly, I meet so many people as entrepreneurs, and there's a lot of ways to mess up a kid. And I think my dad always told me you can do whatever you want. And then I saw him do it, even though it ended up failing. It ended up being bad. I saw that he made it. He didn't know how to maintain it, but I saw that he did it. So it wasn't bullshit. Like if he was a bus driver saying, hey, you can be whatever you want, I'd be like, yeah, all right, whatever, man. I'm gonna sell these drugs or join this gang just like everyone else. But because he told me that, I believed it because I saw what he was able to accomplish, and I saw his work ethic, right? Like when I took you that story, I got robbed with my mom at 5. She was waking me up at 5 a.m. because she had to be at work at 6:30 or real early. And she would walk me to preschool early in the morning. And then she was working on the weekends and he was working on the weekends. And I saw the work ethic and I saw what they accomplished. So that's the main luck I had, was just phenomenal parents. And I'm forever grateful for that.
Awesome. And then I think, have you got some sort of words that if I'm entering a business or I'm in a business and I'm trying to grow it, for people who are just behind you, when you were struggling, what were some principles you put in place? So look, I get it. Never get up, never give up, sell in the present, stay present in the moment, be true to your family, don't tie yourself to your business. You are not your business. Money isn't everything. I think we've seen these on Instagram. Let me get through the cliches and see if you can pile some new ones on top. Let me finish here. Oh, sure. There's this success chart where you're constantly moving forward, but sometimes you drop back, but you have to keep it in perspective.
Yeah.
So some days you fall back and you feel like a failure, but on the chart, you're still moving forward. That's another cliche, but that is a good one. Allow yourself to make mistakes. Don't be too hard on yourself. Keep your faith, even if you're not a person, have some faith. And then be connected to your community, so you're just not on the internet, living on Instagram and everything like that. You go to church.
Balance. What about balance?
Balance.
Make sure you have
Keep control your diet. And have that sort of the endurance and cardio. I find that when I do endurance, it brings new ideas and turns on synapses. Obviously, plunge is a cold plunge 8 feet that way and of course limit caffeine. I know that's one you live by. So
that's the main thing. If it wasn't for that, make your bed. That's my favorite. That's my favorite one here. Make your bed, man. How you do anything is how you do everything.
Hey, you know what? I can tell you this. If my maid can't make our bed, I'll just ask our Rolls Royce driver in for the day and make it.
Word.
Yeah. No. So make your bed. All right. So on top of those, which are the sort of rules, King's 23 rules to live by.
Yeah.
Give us something rich that you feel like was unique to your situation when you were at that inflection point and needed something. I think those are all good rules, but do you remember something that was like, hey, that kept you going during those times where there were question marks?
Yeah. This times it got.
It's okay. I know it was pitch anything. Dark. You could just.
It was literally no bullshit. I've either read or listened to the audio book, no bullshit, over 100 times. I'm not just saying that because you're here. You didn't pay me to say that. Like, it's a big foundational part of what we do from a marketing perspective. Like this book and Influence.
I want to
by
say on the other
books.
side of that, I thank you for saying that, but that book nearly killed me. I'll tell you a story. I think I only mentioned this once, and we get back to the question. I was at the gym, Gold's Gym in Pacific Beach. That is as hardcore as it gets. They made their own equipment, right? So you could get the triple tri-head when you had Mr. Olympias working out there.
Yeah, I've been. Yeah.
Oh, you've been there. Yeah, it's hard. And that gym rolls hard. And so I worked out there. I was coming in the car. My buddy was like, hey, what's going on with the book? I go, I can't do it anymore. It's been like a year. It's shut down my entire business. We wrote down the book, but I can't do it anymore. I'm not sure I can drag it across the line. And so I got home and I unpacked my gym bag and there was a huge check in there, right? And I'm not sure it was a time that this guy could write checks of that size. right? And he said, just keep going. And so that book almost killed me and almost killed a friend of mine. There's a lot. And the way that book ended up the way it is, and the reason you're reacting to it, I said, I'm not going to write anything that has already been written before in any of this style of books. And I wrote a whole chapter, and I found an article, like a rogue article by Malcolm Gladwell, because I scanned the environment the whole time. That was on the similar subject. I threw out a whole chapter. It took me 3 months to write it. I'm like, that was the hardest thing in the world to do. So what you're reacting to is like how much actually went in there to make it viable. And that was the other side of it. Now we're bringing both sides.
That's how you make it classic, man.
Yeah.
You really did it. And I like flip the script too. Like one of my favorite flip the script is the flash rolls.
Yeah.
I have a folder full of flash rolls that I practiced, that I bust off, and every get an opportunity. Ever I get the opportunity.
If you read those books, they will change your life, because they are. I have people call me from Goldman Sachs, and they'll go, "Hey man, I just want to let you know, you didn't invent all that stuff." I never said I invented it. Like, I work in the same business. I just wrote it down. And they're like, "Oh yeah, we love the way you wrote it down. Like, we buy copies of it for all of us." But they're like, "You didn't invent it." I'm like, I didn't claim to invent it.
Yeah.
I just wrote it down in a very nice
You didn't
way.
invent neuroscience, bro. We know that. I don't think you made that claim.
Other than pitch anything, when times got tough and you really had to, hey, I got to figure this out for my family, for myself, for my employees, for my business, for my own personal pride, for survival. Where did you go? We had to go deep, and different people go different place.
I was in a unique situation, right? Because it was right before 2000, and it was like 2007 was when my father committed suicide.
Yeah.
Right. And he didn't leave us nothing. Like, no money. It was just in fact, it was like I had to take care of my mom, my sister, her son, my grandma. Like, I was a 24-year-old kid, and I was thrust in a position where I'm the man of the family, like, overnight. And he didn't leave nothing. In fact, it was bills, actually. And I didn't have the luxury of quitting. Oh, to make matters worse, you know what happened after 2007, right? 2008, right? The kids don't remember that. The kids don't remember that when Lehman Brothers. And so the economy was it was dark out here, man. So I was training people in the morning. I wake up at 4:30 a.m., train people in the morning. Then I would shower in the gym, and then I was living in Manhattan, and I worked I was living in Queens. So I would train people in the morning, and then I would take the train to Manhattan and do security at the Prada store for 8 hours. Then I worked for my boy's moving company after that. And then I was working on the weekends, training people in the morning, and I was weekend manager at a restaurant in Queens, a barbecue restaurant. And these were like 14-hour days. And I was thinking during that time, suicide would have been a real option had I not seen how that affected the family. Yeah. So I'm like, all right. So I didn't have the option to quit. I had to figure something out. And I knew I couldn't just keep working 12, 14 hours a day of like fucking labor for indefinitely. So I didn't have an option to quit when it felt like maybe I should have.
Yeah.
So it's a gift or the curse. So I'm not telling people to burn their boats. You still got to be responsible. But I was during those dark times. It felt like I didn't feel like I had a choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. But some of the tactics some tactical things I used, Google Calendar. So if I showed you my calendar, like this is something that works for me and really well. But I have every hour of my day like planned out, of every day, every week, every month.
Yeah.
Like I'm not, because what I learned during that time is if you really plan out every hour, every day, things won't go as according to plan, but at least you got a strategy for the day. And you have something you can work on instead of trying to get around the stuff. When are you going to do it? When are you going to get, like when you asked me to be on this podcast, I looked at my calendar, I moved something, and I was like, cool. And I had that spot. And you can get so much more done.
I love this Google Calendar thing because I obey it. Right? Yeah. And now it's just the God of time that I obey. And then I miss it and I'm late and everything. But if it's on there, then I believe I have a bunch of ways to not get stuff on there. People who monitor that. But if it's on there, then I just obey it. So if you get on the calendar, then I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
same with me. I have like my girlfriend and my staff. They can put stuff. We have a system where I color coordinate things. So some things they can move depending on what color if they need to. And so then it gives you a track to run on each day. You know what's going on, and you can get so much more. You can run circles around.
So
people who don't do that.
I think I just want to finish up with, because I think if you have it, it never goes away. So on Friday, we've got 220 investors who are in our investment portal for a deal, and they need some additional information, which is fair. Like they came from a different group versus my group. They don't know me as well. So my group, I'm just like, hey man, if you don't want to invest with me, then no problem. Go do something else. You know me, you know what I do, and that's the decision. So we never built really a data room, but these investors don't know me that well. They came in through somebody else. It's not really fair to just go, hey man, you're either in with me or you're not, right? And they're like, I don't know you, fuck off. So we needed to build a data room because we didn't have it. And it was Friday and I started building it. It just, and then it rolled into Saturday. So I worked all day Saturday. Then Saturday rolled into Sunday. I'm like, I do not want to spend, like, I live in Southern California. I have a 10-year-old. We have a nice house by the beach. I don't need to work on the weekends. But I'm like, this has to be done. I'm committed to it. And I'm like, it just has to be done. I don't have a choice. There's nobody else can do it. It's going to take months for anybody else to do it. And I just said, it just triggered. I said, I just have to do it. Rolled through Sunday, worked through Sunday night. My family understood. Monday, chewed up all day Monday, cleared the calendar, did it. I'm like, I do not want to be doing this, but I have to do it.
Yeah.
Right? And so whether you're, how old were you in 2007?
I was 24.
24. Whether you're 24 or 54, right? There's just, I think that's the thing is like, hey man, I have to do it.
Yeah.
And that's it. So if you want a shortcut, if you want to delete Instagram from your phone, except for King's account, you don't want to delete my account with the 9 other people on it with you. But if you want to get rid of all the tropes and the 67 ways and the 23 ways, I think it comes down to, hey man, if it has to be, it has to be me.
Yeah.
Dr. Seuss will save you. And if it has to be, it has to be me. No one can do this for me. In your case, I don't have the money. In my case, there's just no one else who can produce this level of thing in the time. It's just, I have to do it. And that's what I was put here for. By God, by the universe, by myself. Usually I put myself here. No one else did. And I gotta do this. So no matter what stage you're at, I think it's that. If it has to be me, if it has to be done, you just gotta do it. And that's, to me, the difference maker. When you come to a fork in the road, as Yogi Berra said, take it. And that's it. Like, how hard will you go in the paint now?
And what you do that, what happens is like stretching. You stretch, and you can stretch more. So I really feel like when I see the average person walking around, like everybody, I don't really think I'm better than anyone. I just don't think they know. I don't think the average person knows how much potential they have that's laid dormant because they never push themselves like that. Like, find out where your limits are. And then what happens is when you keep going there, your limits will stretch. And there's just so much potential. Everybody has so much potential. You can squeeze so much more life out of yourself, so much more success out of yourself if you learn how to really push yourself like the way you're talking about.
And I think and the thing I'll leave you with, I talk to my friends, whether you could be more successful or less successful. I think the thing for me is I would rather die on my feet than live on my knees. In my business, I'd rather do something I love and take the risks and the trials and tribulations that we have than be in somebody else's business with security. I'd rather die fighting. We should have some Braveheart clips queued up. But if you're not going to fight today, one thing's for sure, you'll be lying in your bed one day, safe, and they'll be coming for you. Whatever. I'd rather fight today on my feet under my own terms than live safely under somebody else's terms.
Do you think that's for everybody, or you think that's like a personality trait?
I think that's where everybody wants to be, but they get trapped and they can't find the way there because they're working for a company, they've got obligations, they have family, they have things rolling, and they're like, man, I just wish I could be independent over there with doing a business like King, but it's so the gap now is too wide. So you had the advantage of going, the gap from where I am to where I want to be was very narrow. I just got to be able to jump it. Now, if you've got 3 kids, you got a house payment, you got 2 cars, you got a job, the job pays well, it's the golden handcuffs. And so that's a tough bridge, but I think you just got to say, hey, I want to fight my own battles. If you want to fight your own battles, then you just got to figure out how to get there. And that's going to take something.
Yeah, and there's a lot of fear there, and it's warranted, right?
Yeah.
You know? So it's like you either face it. There's one thing about fear, man. It's okay to have fear, but it's not okay to be a punk. It's not okay to succumb to it. You can be scared and still do the thing. But
So King and
it's
I would
coward.
like to introduce you for $499 a month, our How Not to Have Fear course.
Yeah, that would have been a good sales pitch right there.
That's coming next time. I think it's important. All right, man,
For
I'm going
sure.
to send you back to your Google Calendar. I would like to invite you out here.
Oh, I would
The
love to come
invitation
in.
stands. There's stuff we can do together still.
Okay.
We got this great facility here. You can at least record some content. We'd love to meet
That'd be
your
great.
son and,
Yeah.
and bring our families closer together. I feel really connected to this conversation that we had.
Oh, that'd be fantastic, man. And I just want to say honestly, man, everything I said about you in the book, like this is really an important part of my success and an important part of my life. I make all my sales team read it. I've done reviews of it on YouTube. I've talked about it on YouTube a lot. It's really, this book has been really important to me. And I'm honored to be able to talk to you and to thank you in
great.
person. Yeah.
We're gonna meet in person. I want to bring you closer into the family. There's some stuff we want to talk about here that we can be doing together.
Oh, man, that sounds fantastic, bro.
All right. Thanks,
Awesome,
King.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Have a great rest of the day.
You too, man. Thank you.